Picture this. A nation is standing on the absolute brink of its destiny. A promised land, a land supposedly flowing with milk and honey, is right there, just over the horizon. But a single intelligence report is about to unleash 4 decades of chaos, rebellion, and supernatural judgment in the middle of a brutal, unforgiving desert. Can you imagine sending your best people, your top scouts, into enemy territory, and this is the report they bring back? Not just that the enemy is strong, but that you are nothing. You're just insects, totally crushable. This one terrifying sentence, it's the spark that lights the fuse on one of the most intense stories of survival and betrayal you'll ever hear.
So you have to ask, right? What could possibly be waiting in this so-called promised land that would cause such absolute mind-numbing terror? Turns out, it wasn't just milk and honey. It was a nightmare. And the story of what those spies really saw and the unbelievable fallout from their report is what we're breaking down today.
So where did it all go wrong? Well, it all starts with a mission, a straightforward recon operation that was supposed to confirm the promise. Instead, it turns into a mission of betrayal that will seal the fate of an entire generation.
Now, the plan itself, it looks solid on paper. They picked the best of the best. One chief from each of the 12 tribes. We're talking their leaders, guys like Caleb and Joshua. The objective was simple: get in, get intel on the people, the cities, how rich the land is, and bring back proof. Bring back some of the local produce. And you know what? At first, the report sounds incredible. They come back with this cluster of grapes so massive, so huge, that it takes 2 men to carry it on a pole. They confirm it. The land is everything they were promised. It really does flow with milk and honey. This should have been the moment they celebrated. But then, 10 of the 12 spies open their mouths, and the story just completely flips. They paint this picture of pure horror. The people there, super powerful. The cities, they're like giant fortresses. And then they drop the bombshells. They say they saw the descendants of Anak. We're talking a legendary tribe of giants. And if that wasn't bad enough, they claim they saw the Nephilim, these mythical giants from way back before the Great Flood. Ancient, terrifying beings that made these spies feel, in their own words, like grasshoppers. And just like that, you see the power of fear. The people don't even hesitate. They don't listen to Caleb and Joshua, the 2 spies who are saying, no, we can do this. Instead, the entire camp just erupts into weeping and chaos. They start shouting against their leaders, demanding they pick a new captain to lead them right back to slavery in Egypt.
This massive failure of faith, this open rebellion, it triggers a punishment that is just staggering. The wilderness, which was only supposed to be a short-term highway, is about to become their prison and their graveyard.
40 days. That's how long the spies were in the land. Just remember that number, 40 days.
Because their punishment? 40 years. 40 years of wandering in the desert, a direct and devastating consequence. The verdict was simple, and it was brutal. For every single day the spies showed a lack of faith, the people would wander for a year. That entire generation, anyone 20 years older who rebelled, would never ever see the promised land. Their kids would get it, but only after they had walked past their parents' graves in the sand. Wait a minute, you're telling me they were stuck in that wasteland for 4 decades because of one bad report? Yep, precisely.
So this 40-year sentence, it turns the desert into something more. It becomes a crucible. It's not just a long, aimless walk. It's a testing ground where any more rebellion is met with judgment that is swift and absolutely terrifying.
You want an example? Let's talk about Korah's rebellion. This was basically a full-blown coup. 250 respected leaders stand up and accuse Moses and Aaron of grabbing too much power. Moses' response isn't a political argument, it's a divine showdown. And the result? It's apocalyptic. The ground literally splits open and swallows the main conspirators and their entire families whole. They go down, alive, into the earth. And if that wasn't enough, fire then shoots out and incinerates the other 250 chiefs. It's an absolutely terrifying display of power.
And you'd think it couldn't get any weirder, right? Oh, but it does. When the people start complaining again, the camp gets swarmed by these venomous, fiery serpents, and people start dying. But the cure is somehow even crazier than the disease. Moses is told to make a serpent out of bronze and stick it on top of a pole. And all anyone who gets bitten has to do is look at the bronze serpent, and they'll live. An act of faith as the only antidote to a fatal poison.
Look, these stories are just a fraction of the sheer chaos and the wild miracles that define these 40 years. If you want to see how this whole epic saga ends and follow the entire journey, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for our Scripture Saga series.
Okay, so fast forward 40 years. The generation of rebels, they're gone. A new, tougher generation, born and raised in the wilderness, is now standing ready. But before they can cross that river, they have to face one last, very strange, spiritual attack. So the threat shifts. King Balak of Moab sees this massive nation camping on his border, and he knows he can't beat them in a straight-up fight. So what does he do? He hires a spiritual hitman, a famous sorcerer named Balaam, and gives him one job: curse these people for me.
And this kicks off one of the most surreal episodes in the entire story. Balaam is tempted by all the money and fame, and he agrees to go. But on the way, his donkey sees something he can't: an angel of the Lord blocking the path with a sword drawn. The donkey tries to save him, swerving off the road, crushing his foot against a wall, and finally just lays down. After Balaam hits the poor animal for the third time, the donkey literally opens its mouth and speaks to him. It asks him, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" I mean, can you even imagine? The angel finally reveals himself, and Balaam continues his trip, but with a major catch: he can only speak the words God gives him. So 3 different times King Balak takes him to a high place overlooking the Israelite camp to pronounce a curse. And 3 different times, Balaam opens his mouth, and a blessing comes out instead. He's totally powerless to curse them, finally admitting, "How can I curse whom God has not cursed?" When you step back and look at it, this whole 40-year nightmare in the wilderness, it wasn't just a punishment. It was a filter. It was this brutal but necessary process to strip away that old slave mentality, that faithlessness, that constant rebellion. The old world had to completely die out so a new one could be born. And this brings the entire story full circle. 40 years after their fathers stood trembling because of a report about giants, a brand new generation now stands at the very same border. These are the kids who were born in the desert, who survived the fiery serpents, who watched rebellion get swallowed by the earth. They are ready to face the very same giants that paralyzed their parents with fear. Which brings us to our final question for you, and I really want to know what you think about this. When the spies saw the Nephilim and the sons of Anak, were they seeing literal flesh and blood giants, or was this a powerful metaphor for that kind of overwhelming, paralyzing fear that can make any obstacle feel totally insurmountable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's debate. The stage is set. The new army is ready to go. The land is right there, within their grasp, but their journey is not quite over yet. Because before they can set one foot across that river, their leader, Moses, who's also not allowed to enter, has one final earth-shaking message to deliver. It's a series of farewell speeches that will become known as the Second Law, a final warning that's going to determine their destiny or their destruction. You're not ready for what's coming in the final warning. We'll see you in the next explainer.